Van entered Taehyung's office carrying a stack of documents higher than she could see over. As she stumbled forward, she tripped on misplaced quill, sending papers flying everywhere. Taehyung ran quickly towards her in an attempt to save her from falling down. She slowly opened her eyes when she felt herself in the air and felt a hand securely wrapped around her waist. She realized it was none other than Taehyung who just saved her from falling. Ugh, Van, Taehyung exclaimed, shocked and irritated. I'm sorry, Mr. Kim, Van gasped as she moved back from his arms and scrambled to pick up the scattered papers. Can't you be more careful, Van? Taehyung asked, being done with her clumsiness. I'm sorry, Mr. Kim. Bayan apologized, grabbing all the scattered papers to clean the mess. Her doe eyes were full of remorse, but when their eyes met for a brief moment, something unusual happened. A small spark ignited between them. Ah, Bayan, I am not asking you for sorry. Just try to improve yourself, he said with a hint of warmth in his voice. Bayan looked up at him, guilty, but noticed something different in his eyes. I promise I'll try harder, she replied softly. Okay, let's see. First, clean this mess which you have created. I'll be back in a few minutes, he said while going outside the office. Ah, Van, why are you so stupid? She said to herself while cleaning the mess. Van is like this. Clumsiness is filled in her veins. There are countless accidents proving her clumsiness, like spilled ink pots, lost documents, and broken quills. Still, though, Theon couldn't help but notice how Van tries too hard to fulfill her responsibilities as a secretary. Surprisingly, he found himself secretly amused by her clumsiness. Van was working silently until someone approached her. She looked up and found Jack, who is her colleague. What happened, Jack? Do you need something? She asked with raised brows. No, Van, I just wanted to give you this, he said nervously while showing her juice. Juice? Is it strawberry juice? Van asked while looking at the juice. Yes, it is. Do you like strawberry juice? Jack asked unsurely. Yep, I like strawberry juice so much, she said while smiling softly. Okay then, here, drink this, he said while giving her juice with a slight smile. Okay, thank you so much, Jack, for this, she said while taking juice and straw from his hand. It's okay, man, I'll get going then, bye, he said while going away. Bye, bye, said while smiling. She was just going to have a sip from the juice, but before she could sip it, someone snatched it away from her hand. She shockingly looked up to see who it was, only to find her arrogant boss, sipping the juice which she was going to sip just now. She stood up on her place and looked at him with disbelief. What the heck? Someone gave that to me. How can you just? She asked, being so done with him. Taeyong didn't reply. He just kept drinking it without looking at her. Ah, why are you drinking it? Give it back to me, she said while trying to take it back from him, but he stepped back before she could even touch the juice. She crossed her hands against her chest and looked at him aggressively. Is he your type? Theon asked out of nowhere, raising brows. What? Why do you care? Vine asked, shrugging her shoulders. Well, if he is your type, then your taste is quite bad, he said with a smirk. Focus on work, don't flirt while working hours. Otherwise, you know the consequences. He warned her with a straight face, then made his way towards his office, while throwing the remaining juice in the dustbin. Yeah, I'm not flirting with anyone, and what's with that smirk, you jerk? Van said while stomping her feet annoyingly. He's a totally jerk. How can he even judge my type, and how dare he drink up my juice? She said annoyingly. Suddenly something hits her mind. Wait, why did he react that way? It was so unexpected of him. Like, why does he care who my type is? Is he probably jealous? No, Van, what are you even thinking? She shrugged it off while sitting on her chair and started doing her work. How can she even accept anything from anyone? Will she accept anything if some other guy will offer her? She's really totally fooled. Didn't she saw he was trying to flirt with her? Cheong said to himself while entering inside the office. Theung sat at his desk poring over some reports. Van entered his office with some files in her hands. Theung's gaze turned to the sound of heel clicking on the floor. His breath hissed, his eyes turned dark, seeing her all dressed up in a baby blue pencil skirt and matching button-up crop top, looking so adorable. God, she will be death of me some days, he murmured to himself, then shifted his gaze back on screen before Van could caught him checking her out. Soon Van approached his table. "Good morning, Mr. Kim," Van greeted him cheerfully, placing the files on the edge of his desk. In her clumsiness, she stumbled a loose power cable and knocked the glass full of water over him. Cold water splashed all over Taehyung's crisp white shirt. "Ah, man!" Taehyung snapped, jumped up from his chair as he tried to wipe the water off. "Oh God, here we go again. Can't you be more careful, Van? Why are you so clumsy? I'm so done with you. See yourself out right now, Van." "I'm so sorry, Mr. Kim." She quickly picked up the tissue and started wiping off the water from his shirt, ignoring his hurtful words. But her eyes widened when her gaze dropped on perfect set of abs, which can be seen through his drenched white shirt, her brain functioning slowly. She stopped moving her hands and shamelessly gazing his perfect abs. "Could I maybe touch them?" she murmured to herself in mind. Theon cursed under his breath for shouting on her like this. With regret, he looked down confusingly. He followed Vian's gaze, then realized that she was continuously staring his abs. "Done checking me out?" he asked, raised brows with a slight smirk. Vian came back to her sense and shot up at his face. As she bit her lip, he stalked towards her, her body not daring to move. He increased their proximity to an impossible extent, towering over her small figure. As she silently looked into his eyes, her heart skipping a beat. Both of them breathing in synchronization, her lips trembling out of nervousness. He placed one of his muscular arms on the tissue works behind her and leaned into her, swinging in with one arm. She gulped the saliva and attempted to back away, but she couldn't because of the table. He grabbed the tissue and moved back with a smirk, wiping off the water while she stood there, looking like a clueless fish. She came back in her senses when Theong moved back from her. "Why are you so dumb, Brian? He scolded you just now. How can you even fangirl him? He has just hurted you with his words. How can you even let him come near you, Brian?" She asked herself in mind, then she looked at Theong, who was wiping water off his shirt with a smirk. Suddenly realization hits her. Did he just make fun of me by coming extremely close to me like this? Oh, so now I understood he was just teasing me out of fun to entertain himself. Doesn't my feelings matter to him? She said to herself, tears brimmed up in her eyes. But she didn't let them out. "I'm sorry, sir, I'll be more careful from next time, and I won't give you any chance to complain," she said while looking down, trying hard not to cry in front of him. "And I'll surely try not to be clumsy, at least in front of you," Van said while bowing, then ran away from there while wiping her tears from the back of her hand. Theung was lost in thinking about Van's blushed face when he went near her. He came back in senses when he heard her shaky voice. He saw her looking down, trying not to cry. His heart clenched on seeing her in this condition. Guilt filled through his veins when he heard her. He tried to approach her. "Van, listen to me." But before he could say anything, she went away from there. "Shit," he cursed under his breath. "Why did I even shout it on her? She must be so hurt." He walked back and forth, running his hand through his hairs, trying to find out a solution to make it up to her. Van entered bathroom and cried her heart out. She shouldn't be feeling so hurt because of his scolding, because she herself knows that she is clumsy as hell. But she was hurt, she was too hurt because of his behavior towards her, because of him making fun of her while getting close to her first, then backing away. Eventually, she was hurt and sad because of both the reasons. She wiped her tears. "Be strong, man. If he is playing with your feelings, then show him that he also doesn't matter to you," she murmured, then went away from there. Theon come outside his office to take a walk in order to check if all the employees are working properly or not. But his main aim was to check up on Van whether she is alright or still sad. His gaze sought up on Van, who was working silently. She was looking pale, her face was red as if she has been crying from hours. He looked at her for some good minutes. His heart sank on seeing her pale face. He didn't feel good when she didn't look up at him, even though he went and stood up near her table, waiting for her to notice his presence. Oh God, what happened to her? I don't know what has hurted her this much that she had cried until she became so pale. I just scolded her a bit. Like who cries this much on a little bit scolding? Doesn't she knows it? Hurts me to see her pale and sad like this. Doesn't she know that her nose and cheeks have become totally red because of crying? God, what should I do to make it up to her? She is not even ready to spare a glance at me. Taehyung mumbled to himself, walking back and forth in his office. He's restless now on seeing Van's condition. He himself doesn't know why he can't bear a single tear in her eyes. He is much more restless because she is crying, not because of anyone else, but him. Working hours got finished, Van packed her stuff and made her way to the lift. After a while lift opened, few people came inside along with Taehyung. She looked at him for a second, who was already looking at her with an apologetic look, but she shifted her gaze back on the floor, completely ignoring him. After some time, few people which were on lift went out, leaving them alone. Now they both were feeling awkward because of the silence between them, until Taehyung thought to broke the ice. "Let me drop you off," he said nervously, looking straight. "Thank you, sir, but I can manage myself," she said with a hint of sarcasm. "Oh God, I'll kill this sir word for sure. I just hate it coming from your mouth, Van," he said, pissed off. "You're my boss. I'm supposed to call you that," she explained. "No, Van, you can call me anything but sir. Not a chance, Van," he said, looking at her. "From my perception, I can only call you sir. After all, I'm just your secretary," she said, emphasizing the word secretary. "No, Van, not at all. You're definitely not just my secretary," he assured her. Van finally looked in his eyes. "Then what am I to you? What do you want to be, Van?" he said while looking deeply in her eyes. Suddenly opening sound of lift brought Van back to her senses. Is this his new trick to make fun of me? If it is, I'll not let him do this again, she said to herself in mind, then quickly made her way out from the lift. Taehyung ran after her. After coming outside the company van started searching for cab. "Let me drop you off," Taehyung asked again in low voice. Her back was facing him. "I can go by my own, thank you for asking," she said without looking at him. "I can drop you off," he again asked hopefully. "I said I can manage," she said, still back facing him. "Jeon Ban," he growled, flipping her around to face him but making sure to keep his arms cased around her waist. His perfect face was so close to her, if she leaned forward just a little bit, they would be French kissing. "Please come with me when I'm requesting you, otherwise, I have other ways too, and I'm sure you'll not like those ways at all." "And what if I refuse?" she dared to ask, gazing up at him. His eyes flickered down to her lips, and before he could respond, some employees bursted, interrupting the heated movement. Her cheeks immediately reddened from embarrassment. "Get off me," she grumbled, pushing against his chest only for him not to budge an inch. "Come with me," he stated calmly, as if his employees didn't just catch them getting ready to devour each other's faces. Vi needed to get away from him, and if agreeing to this stupid lift from him will grant her wish, then so be it. "Fine, now move." She pushed against his chest again. Theung finally moved aside, clearly pleased with getting his way once again. She made her way towards his car. He went behind her, chuckling. They both sat comfortably inside the car. I swear I heard him chuckle slowly. Van mumbled to herself in mind. Soon Theung started the engine and drove away. Van was keenly observing his hands. The way he drives, the way he grips the steering wheel, is making her feel hot despite her being angry with him. Geez, why did he roll up his sleeves? Maybe there are a lot more tattoos up his sleeve, she mumbled to herself in mind. Van glanced at the air conditioning to check if it was working. "It is." She sighed and looked outside the window for some peace of mind. Theung shifted his gaze to Van only to find her silently looking outside. "Are you still ignoring me, Van?" Van turned her gaze to him. When did I? I know, Van, you're literally ignoring me from morning, he said while focusing on the road. If you know this, then you must know the reason too, she said, looking straight. Suddenly, filled through his veins. Van, I'm sorry. I really didn't mean anything that I said in the morning, Van. I just got angry and things slipped down from my mouth, but please, I'm sorry now. Please forgive me. If you were angry, then do you have the right to say anything? You even know how much those anger words hurted me. Your harsh words and your actions keeps on running in my mind, and no matter how hard I try to forget about that, but every time I saw you, I remember about the thing. It really hurts me a lot. When about which actions you are talking? Cheong asked confusingly. About you making fun of me and my feelings, she replied bitterly. What? When did I? He asked confusingly. So now you forgot when you came closer to me, then backed away, smirking widely. She asked, looking at him. Oh, Van, you are misunderstanding me. I neither made fun of you nor your feelings. I was just teasing you out of love, and I smirked not to make fun of your feelings, but because of seeing my effect on you. He explained, making movements with his hands. You just misunderstood everything, Van. Van realized whatever Theung said made sense. She is working from 3 years with him. He will not lie about anything. You really thought, Van, that I would ever make fun of you and your feelings? I would never do something like this to you, Princess, Theung said softly. These words touched Van's heart. A beautiful smile formed on her lips. She looked at Theung admiringly. I don't understand you cried this much on silly thing, Van. You could have just asked it to me first, please, without misunderstanding anything, he said a little aggressively. You're right, though. I should have confirmed that to you before reaching to any conclusion, she said softly. You mean the world to me, Van. It feels like someone snatched my world away from me whenever you ignore me. So please stop this torture. I can't handle your ignorance anymore, Princess, he confessed softly. Van's heart again skipped a beat when he called her Princess. Okay, I'm sorry. I won't ignore you from now onwards. Thanks to you, my lady, he said with excitement. Van blushed. What happened to him suddenly? Why is he calling me with different names? Does he know that if he keeps calling me with nicknames like this, then I might die out of happiness? Remaining ride was silent. Nobody said anything until Theong stopped the car in front of Van's place. We have reached, he said, not wanting her to go away. Ah, yes, thank you for dropping me off, she said while bowing lightly. Then unbuckled the seat belt, took her bag. I'll get going then. She was just going out from the car, but suddenly Theong flipped her back by holding her elbow. She confusingly looked at him. He leaned closer to her and directly looked into her eyes, and then at her pink rose lips. He leaned more closer to her face, leaving a little gap between her as he wrapped his one hand around her waist and other hand around her nape. Her heartbeat raced as she felt his soft lips on hers. She closes her eyes, feeling a soft and warm feeling taking over her. Vine held the cloth off his shirt, kissing him back. The kiss was soft and delicate without any tongue added. Her lips moved in a sync while he softly held her. His lips are soft and wet. This is the first kiss of her life. Ever no tongue, he just sucked her lips with his and pulled away as she opened her eyes, looking away shyly. Why is it weekend today? I'm already missing her. What should I do now? Theong said while running back and forth. I think first I should finish my work, then I should go visit her at her place, he mumbled, shaking his head with agreement. This work, it's already 8 p.m. now. I can't stay here anymore. I have to go to meet her, he said desperately while going outside. Imagine him as desperate Taehyung who wants to meet Van so badly. Van is lying down on the bed thinking about whatever happened yesterday. She was feeling butterflies remembering the intense kiss that they shared. Imagine her as Van who is blushing while thinking about the heat movement that they shared at Van's place. Van was about to go to sleep after putting the phone in charge, but suddenly her eyes fell on the window of her room, like someone was trying to sneak in. And then she saw a shadow. Her eyes widened. She stood up from bed. Suddenly, someone came inside through that open window. It was none other than Theong. She sighed with relief that it is not some thief, but frowned in confusion. What is he doing here at this hour? Yeah, Mr. Kim, what are you doing here in my house at this time? Theong ignored her question. He approached her and hugged her tightly as if she will disappear somewhere. God, I have missed you so much, John Van, he said, then suddenly smashed his lips on hers. Her eyes widened. He sucked her lips with his for what felt like an hour, then moved apart. When he didn't felt any movement from Van's side, he looked at her who was looking down. Are we in a relationship? Van blurted out, looking deep into Theong's deep brown eyes to find out the answer. She wanted to confront him because it was not like they were in any kind of relationship that he is kissing and hugging her again and again. Then why was he acting differently towards her? Do you want to be? He asked back, his tone serious but warm, eyes looking wide and hopeful. Why can't you answer straightly when I ask you something? Why do you have to question me back all the time? She said, being annoyed with him. I think I am in love with you, John Van, he whispered, cutting her off. Her eyes widened with surprise. But we are not in any kind of relationship yet. How can you kiss me casually like this? We can be, baby girl, only if you want, he whispered softly, looking into her doe eyes. She is taken aback by his straightforwardness. She knew that deep inside she also had feelings for him, but she wanted to confirm if he really loves her. You really love me? She asked with hopeful eyes. He moved towards her, closing the gap between them. Since the moment I saw you, he generally replied, but you know that I'm not perfect. I'm clumsy, moreover, I make mistakes all the time. I'm afraid I might ruin everything because of my clumsiness, she said, being insecure about her clumsiness. Theong smiled and took her hands in his. Van, he whispered softly as he studied her trembling frame. I don't mind your clumsiness. In fact, I think it makes you who you are, and that's someone I have fallen for. Caught off guard by Theong's confession, Van felt warmth and relief spreading through her chest. It's been 3 years we are working together. You said you loved me since the moment you saw me. She asked softly. Yes, babe, he replied genuinely. Then I must say one thing, Mr. Kim. You are quite good at hiding your feelings. She praised him with a slight smile. Well, I'm good at other things too, baby, he whispered with a smirk. Red tint spread all over Van's face, her heartbeat raising when she understood his point. She managed to say, then why did you confess now? You could have continued hiding your feelings. I had to confess because I was afraid someone will snatch you away from me. When I saw Jack close to you the other day, I got restless and decided to confess to you, he whispered, getting closer to her. He cupped her face and genuinely looked in her eyes. When I will make you the happiest, darling. I love you. I really love you so much. I never felt like this before. I promise I will protect you till my last breath. I will make you the happiest woman. I just want you to want me back, he confessed softly, looking into her eyes. Van got happy tears in her eyes after listening his confession. She nodded her head in yes and hugged him tightly. He slightly smiled, then kissed her ears. After a while, breaking the hug, Theung made Van look at him with his index finger digging her chin. He looked at her intensely. They were so close as their breaths were exchanging. He chuckled at her nervousness and then placed his lips on hers and started tasting her slowly. She closed her eyes at his doings. His hand started roaming her hair with another one. He pinched her waist, making her gasp. She opened her mouth, which he took as an opportunity, and entered her mouth. He started devouring every inch of her mouth, feeling every movement. She also closed her eyes, feeling him, and let him devour herself. Yes, she wants that because she loves him back. Taehyung smiled and hugged her, lifting her off the ground and twirling her around. I will do everything to make you happy for the rest of our days. I will never let you go. I will never give up on you, on us, Van. Van felt overwhelmed with happiness. I love you, Taehyung. I love you more, baby girl. He replied, putting her down then embracing her securely in his arms.